of the areas, K-5, and they will make a recommendation to us for each subject in the spring. Though I have told them if for some reason we get to a point where none of it looks like a good tool, then we'll wait until we can find the proper tool. We would rather buy the right textbook than to put that significant come see them. So there's folks from Texas who want to come see. I think a school from the East Coast wants to come out and see them and see what they're doing. And the unique part with Big Picture Learning is they actually get a part of the fees for that. So we'll actually generate revenue at some point. As Diana had mentioned earlier, the California School Dashboard was released today. I have not had time to delve into it too much. We will take a deeper look in January, but there is the link there. I will say that the local indicators show standard not met. I am not sure. I filled out the information, but I must not have clicked submit or missed a step in there somewhere. So it says not met, even those were reviewed and as a part of the LCAP process in June. So I apologize for that oversight. We will make sure that gets done this year. There's no real consequence for it for 1 year. It's just the look on the dashboard. So again, I apologize if that's the case, but we will look deeper at that in January. In human resources, we're analyzing our needs for the coming year. We really hope to know any known vacancies for the next year and advertise as soon as possible. Mr. Chimolino is moving on in support of his family, so we wish him well. And we will have Leah Garrett serving as an interim for Fort Bragg Middle School as we recruit a new assistant principal. We're also sad to lose our 3 retirees and wish them well as they move to the next stage of life. And finally, our community partnerships. I will be submitting by Tuesday the Community Schools Planning Grant application. This funding will increase our capacity to support community partnerships such as that we have with the Blue Door Services to benefit our students' mental, social, and physical health. If awarded, this grant will provide us $100,000 per year for 2 years to develop these partnerships and allow us to apply for the next level of grant funding, which would be, I believe it's $500,000 a year for 5 years.
Wow.
So significant funding there. And I wish everyone happy holidays.
Okay, thank you for the report. Did anyone have any questions before we move on to benchmark data? Okay, so we have student assessment benchmark data for grades 6 through 12, and we will have Ms. Laura Vieira for Fort Bragg Middle School.
Okay, clearly I'm doing something wrong. Jerry Lynn and I started the same year for Fort Bragg Unified.
That's cute.
Okay, so benchmark data. Our teams at Fort Bragg Middle School met over the course of several staff meetings to analyze our first iReady benchmarks that were actually given in September. So the data that they were looking at is not super current. We're actually doing our second benchmark. Language arts did it last week, and math is working on it this week. So you can just clip through, Renee. So CTE did not have an iReady benchmark. They have their own data points that they looked at, and each of those teachers filled out the form. We worked on this together in our departments. Our math department looked at their iReady, and they concluded that the 8th grade class had the strongest understanding of standards because they had the most consistent instruction over the last couple of years. The things I wanted to highlight for them were on their action plan, that their focus is going to be working on number talks with kids talking about math and concepts, explaining their thinking behind how they arrived at mathematical answers. And thank you. Is showing that as they are slowly working toward increasing cardiovascular health, they're seeing improvement in student stamina, mostly running pacers, but also playing a bunch of other physical data analysis, that their students were successful in reading and annotating informational text. We've been doing what we call close reads for, I think, the whole 7 years that I've been at Fort Bragg Middle School, so our teachers are really good at it, and our kids have had lots of practice with it. And then their action plan is, their focus, is that it? Mine doesn't have colors, yes. Their focus is to implement all of the Kelly Smith student engagement strategies. Again, the one doing the talking is the one doing the learning. Also, the strategies listed there are the strategies that when we get to the school-wide action plan are also the same. Humanities department. Actually, all of our students are working on comparing and contrasting different texts. And when you go down to the standards, they're highlighting the citing evidence, and that's a focus standard that ranges from kindergarten all the way through high school. The humanities action plan, each grade is doing something just a little bit different. The target focus for 6th grade is comparing and contrasting. 7th grade is analyzing 2 or more authors, so you're kind of doing the same thing. And then 8th grade, you're analyzing a case in which 2 or more texts provide conflicting information on the same topic, and then the students are interpreting that. Lesson plans are going to be with instructional engagement strategies. Again, the Kelly Smith strategies that we've been working on for several years. And our action plan, which is on the next, I think it's on the next one. There it is. So school-wide, so all the departments analyzed their data individually as a department, and then we all came together. What are we going to do school-wide to support student learning and student progress? And this is what we came up together as a full staff. So really focusing on the reading informational text. That's the standard RI and RL. So RI is reading informational text. RL is reading literature. And then the 6.9 through 8.9, that's the grade level standard that runs through all of the Common Core standards. And then speaking and listening, which again goes back to the one doing the talking is the one doing the learning. And then the strategies that are listed on the lower left, those are all Kelly Smith strategies that, again, they've been working on both in departments over the last couple of years. And then Kelly comes, I want to say once a month, but it might not be that often depending on sub availability, to work with specific departments to fine tune those skills and those strategies. And then our math departments, everybody's going to talk with my hands. Everybody's going to work on the number talks and having students discuss their thinking, their reasoning, and being able to explain how they got to where they did. And that is our action plan. So I do need to add, our humanities benchmarks were done, the second one was done last week, and we have students that are showing 3 grade levels of growth from the iReady assessments that they took in September to the one that they took last week. So it's very exciting. Math, I don't have anything to share yet because we're still working on that. Mm-hmm. So there is growth and there's learning happening at Fort Bragg Middle School.
Any questions?
Consistency and predictability of continuing to come to school 5 days a week with the same teachers and the same classes, and we continue. The Kelly Smith strategies we've been using since our 8th graders were in 6th grade. So that consistency throughout the years, it's not professional development that's one and done. It's been ongoing over time, and they're just getting better at what they're doing.
Awesome.
It's very exciting.
It is exciting.
3 grade level. I mean,
Three grade levels from
amazing.
September to now is remarkable. And I would say Lindy highlighted it. We have LLI, Level Literacy Intervention, I think is what the LLI stands for, which is a reading intervention program, but it's for kids that are general education that don't qualify for special ed. Those are some of the students that we're seeing make these big leaps because they've got that foundation where, normally you may not have access to it in your general education class. So LLI, I think, has been a big part of that. So thank you,
Wow.
board, for helping us get a reading intervention program at the middle school because we really needed it.
Well, thank you to you and the staff. Great job.
It's not me, it's all them.
Great job to them.
Well, and I do like the school site coming together and seeing
Yeah.
what they can use in every
As a whole,
classroom,
yeah.
which is pretty exciting. And my only question, and it'll be for Bruce as well, is those that aren't meeting standard, do you feel like the morale of the kids, they just don't know what they don't know, or are they frustrated, or they feel like they know how to ask for help because of some shortfall that they, had?
I think it's an individual. case by case, as in the counselor report, Ms. Malsum doing academic counseling. We actually take our DNF list and split it up between the vice principal, myself, and the counselor. And we have ongoing meetings with all of those kids that we keep track of. And, they don't ask questions because they're in middle school. That's not cool. But what I do teach them to do is email your teacher if you have a question, or send it in the chat, or we sit in my office and we email together, and I copy the student email in my question or clarification to the teacher. And a lot of times, it's in my backpack, I forgot. And so it's just those kinds of time management things and
Skill.
just making sure you get your stuff turned in.
Yeah.
But it also allows us to build those relationships with kids that are struggling. Because the kids that are doing well, they're easy. It's the kids that struggle with navigation and systems that we support.
Very good.
And I learn all kinds of stuff that I don't necessarily know because I can't be in every classroom all the time. And I'm like, really, that happened? So it also gives them a chance to share and connect with somebody, and feel comfortable coming to the office. You don't always go to the office because you're in trouble.
Right, good things.
We're there to help.
Very good, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so we have Bruce Triplett for Fort Bragg High School data.
You can go to the next one. So the CTE, they are working with Kelly next month, and they're trying to get a group, a benchmark that they all can do the same thing. 'Cause this is hard because they teach all different subjects and different contents. And so this one, they kind of just focused on what they were doing. So there were some links in there, and they're doing some great stuff. And I better plug the holiday or they're going to get mad at me. So tomorrow, 1 to 4, holiday, they're having an event. So you can buy some art sale, some food there. And so if you have those last minute gifts you need, you can get them there, 1 to 4.
Saturday, right? Not-
Saturday. Yes, that is correct. It is at the town hall. Thank you. So they, like I said, I think the biggest thing is they've been, Kelly Smith, you'll hear, it's been great. They're working with her, and they want a common benchmark that they all can have some common themes throughout, which, I think what they're going to focus on, speaking and listening, because they all can touch on that, and that's a great job skill that everybody could improve upon. You can go to the next one. So language arts, as you can see, you saw the slide. So, the one thing I like about it is looking at their data is they're trying to find out like what they get back. I mean, this is, I think, working with Kelly Smith and all the data analysis that we've been doing. It's great when you go into those department meetings, and they've talked about data, but I think that now they're focusing and so they're coming up with a common assessment as well that they can work on. And I think what theirs was their writing. They're noticing that that they can regurgitate some information, but what the difficulty is having is how do they analyze it from what they're learning to something else. And so that's a tough skill, and it's really a higher thinking. And I think that will go across with the language arts scores and everything like that. So that's what they're seeing, that they're seeing some deficiencies. And so it's great that they're looking at their data as well and trying to find out how they can improve overall. So that's what they're looking at. Math, we keep going through. I think
Did you skip ELA?
I skipped all, no, they're towards, there we go. So I think math, what I think they're noticing is just students are having a hard time. I mean, when they come to high school, academically, I don't think they get as much homework. And so I think that to answer your question, they're building up resiliency and just the work, because I don't think they're used to, I can't finish it in class, then you're going to have homework. And so I think that building up that has been, through COVID, that's been the toughest, is just building up that resiliency with students. And so I think that's what they're trying to do, because they're noticing different ones, like geometry. I think students, because algebra, it doesn't really pertain to some of the algebra stuff. So geometry, I think they're noticing that they're doing better in geometry. So again, if you look through the slides, the data they're looking at why is the data showing what they're getting. And so they're coming up with some great things, some great questions they're having, and they're continually changing. They're changing the way they have their warm-ups in class due to what they're noticing on their benchmarks or their tests. Same thing with their department meetings. They're great, and they're trying to figure out, okay, are we going too fast? Are we going too slow? So they're working with each other, and I think we'll see some, I think our math scores were low, and I think has a multitude of things, the reason why that was. So I think you're going to see our scores, hopefully, with this, going after this grant, that we'll find ways to improve that. And science, again, it's very similar to all the other ones, is they're looking at their data and, trying to get kids to understand what does that mean with the graphs, and that transfers into the other content. And so, again, all of our, with working with Kelly Smith, they're really pinpointing, what they're doing in the class, and they're changing it all the time. So their benchmark, they're looking at changing theirs in the spring. So it's like I said, I think if you go to the next one, I think that was what we're focused on. It's the overall, it's, as our discussions, we're just trying to find out ways to improve our data collection. And, over the years, our state testing and our benchmarks have been pretty accurate. They've been pretty close. And so I think our teachers do a great job of looking at how they can improve, which is good. And sometimes hard, you get your scores back, and you're like, they aren't that good. But, they're trying to find ways to improve that. So it's been good to see. So do you have any questions for me?
So are all of the departments using the Illuminate program?
Not all of them.
Oh, they're not all?
No.
Yeah.
And I think that's, some of our science is really good at the Illuminate.
Mhm.
But it is, it's the hard part is trying to get the information in. It's tough
Yeah,
at some of it. So
time consuming.
So is that how the graph, with the student groups, is that how they've
That's
created
science?
that?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's how they get
Yeah.
that data?
correct.
So it sounds like there's a lot of extra steps.
Yeah, there's a lot of extra steps. That is correct.
And that's a lot of, but they're scientists, so they probably like that data.
And Kelly,
appreciate
she's
that.
very good at it.
Yeah, that's, because I couldn't, anyway, very good. Does anyone have any questions? And you also did a site
Thank you.
sum up. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank your teachers.
Yes, that's exciting.
Mhm.
So the next on the agenda is the California School Employee Association report. Do we have a report?
Oh, Martha Lopez for California School Employees Association, Chapter 487. Last month, I was not able to attend the meeting in person, and I would like to take this opportunity to thank you for the salary increase. It was a good surprise and made us feel appreciated as classified staff. We held a regular meeting and elected a new board. Martha Lopez, again, President, Vice President Cecilia Beeman, Treasurer Kelly Sutton, and Secretary Noel Finberg. The MOU for the bus monitor position was ratified, and we're happy that we can move forward in hiring someone that will be supporting the SPED bus students and the drivers. We're saying goodbye to a longtime colleagues, Madeline Richard, and I asked them to please tell me how they started at FBUSD. So Madeline was first hired in 1989 as an instructional aide, then worked as counseling secretary for the Independent Study Program, and then finally as a secretary 3 for the counseling office, completing a total of 33 plus years of service at FBUSD. Debbie Watson was hired as a computer person, she told me, in 1991, putting floppy disks in 25 computers, rebooting after class is done to get ready for the next one.
Oh.
Then work as an instructional aide, as a secretary, counseling secretary, and finally as secretary 3, completing a total of 31 years of service to FBUSD. And as a unit, we cannot forget Jerry Lynn Mitchell. She's not currently a CSEA member due to her position being management, but for years she was an active CSEA member, and we are so happy to see her going into retirement. So congratulations to all of them. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And do we have a report from FBDTA? No report? Okay.
Nope.
Well, staff, yeah, perfect timing.
Yep.
Have a great winter break. Enjoy your festivities. And perfect timing, our last report is construction. Perfect timing, Don Alameda.
Don't get comfortable.
Nice to see you
Hope
guys.
you're ready.
I'm always worried about these
Timing, no, the
overlaps.
timing works out really great. Good night.
So far, I've been lucky, huh?
Yeah.
So, all righty, well, that's the summary of expenditures and budget for Phase 1. We've expended about 6 million of the 10 million, so we're on the downhill side, as long as the work is tracking with expenses, which they do. They should be. So I'm ready for the next slide. Okay. It's just a real pleasure working with FRC. They're just a good outfit that we have here. They're just progressing pretty well. The exterior, you can see, it's not going to be white forever. That's just the architect chose to do a waterproofing measure that's a little bit over and above being on the coast here, and that's what you're seeing now. They're just starting to put the siding on over that, starting on the west side, and the siding is one pattern at the lower part of the wall, and that's a lot of labor. So it's coming along, though. It'll be nice once it's done. The interior, they are at the point where they've got drywall on, taped, not textured yet, but taped and sanded, ready to go for texture. Actually, it's going to be pretty smooth finish. So it's starting to really look like rooms inside, if you haven't been in there for a while. What's being worked on now is the lighting, the mechanical, the meat and potatoes that make it function as a building. That's what's going on right now. The other things that will start going on inside that I think they're a little bit behind on, or got a little slower start on, is some of the interior finishes. I think they were supposed to be doing flooring and painting right now, where they're just about to start painting. Actually, I saw the painter leave today, so they're I think they primed some of the walls. So they're a tad behind on some of the interior finishes. But I think the real driver is, again, the switchgear, the electrical work. Without that, we normally would not have power. Fortunately, we have the power from the modular, the old modular, so we do have enough power to put lights on, run computers. What we don't have enough power to do is run the heaters until we get the new switchgear. And somebody reminded me the other day, you can think of that, maybe we could run some of them, but actually the power that's there right now is single phase, and the power that runs the heater or the boiler is 3-phase. So we can't draw power from what's there for the heaters. So right now they're running propane or butane heaters in there to keep the temperature, because you need a certain temperature to start doing finishes, and they're doing that with construction heaters. But I don't think you want to occupy the building with construction heaters. So, so it's coming along though. My next slide, I think I got ahead of myself a little bit. They were tracking pretty much on schedule up until very recently. Like I said, the drywall's installed, the mechanical electrical roofing is complete, and they're starting to get to the finished stuff. What's running a little behind are the finishes: flooring, painting, things that there's an opportunity to catch up on. Those aren't the tricky things to do. Although I was talking to Brandon today when I was out there, and he's thinking he's a week or 2 weeks behind, and whether we catch that up is a question. But again, it's still weeks and months ahead of the switchgear, so that delay's not driving it. Okay, I'm ready for next slide.
Oops.
Okay, so you can just walk out there. Well, not right now, it's a little dark, but as you can see, it looks like a white building. It's not going to be a white building. That's the, it's like a giant diaper, it's just, it's just this waterproofing membrane that goes on it, and now they're starting to, the windows the building's watertight now. If it rains, it's not going to get wet inside. It's got windows, it's got doors. it has this big diaper over it, and now they're covered up with finishes. As you can see, the purple wall, the purple drywall is anti-mold drywall. So when you see purple drywall, that's anti-wall. Typically, you do that in bathrooms. Because of the coast, they
It's like H&R and Fort Bragg unified together, the colors. So the white, it's not Tyvek, it's actually an adhesive of some sort?
it's a liquid applied membrane, but
Okay. It's not a wrap.
it's not a wrap.
And there's no wrap on it. This is in
There's no
place
wrap.
of-
That's it. Yeah, it's basically. I don't know if it's silicone based. It's a liquid applied. It dries. I mean, it's still kind of soft to the touch. It's like a big giant.
Okay.
rubber
And then you put
diaper.
your siding right over the top of it.
Well, what you see those black stripes there?
Mm-hmm.
Those what they're doing is what's called a rain screen. Those stripes are almost corrugated with holes in it to allow air to flow between the finish and the white stuff.
Right. Do you have mold?
So the siding is nailed to the black stripes, which are proud about this much with holes that allow ventilation to go through. It's a newish more concept on building construction than
So you don't have the rot. Yeah, because you're not making a whole bunch of holes in good
Right.
wood.
Keeping the water out and allowing airflow.
Yeah.
That's great.
yeah.
Curve, Jerry.
Yeah. Or
And then the-
tar
Putting
paper,
holes in it because it still has to go through
the black part,
the black part. of
Yeah.
the membrane.
but not as many.
Right, I'm sure.
Yeah,
Because there's flow
and be
through there.
kind of squishy, and so it's kind of self-healing when they nail it,
Mm-hmm.
nail through that waterproof membrane. It kind of self-heals itself. Anyway, yeah, it's rather unique. You can see the black area over the entries. That's non-conditioned space, and that's more traditional, the double paper.
Just tar
that you-
paper.
Yeah,
Yeah,
whereas a conditioned space has the big diaper.
right.
Okay, phase two, the architect, basically the expenditure's been the architect, and tell you the truth, I had a conversation with a couple of days ago, I think after the turn of the year, we'll have another meeting with staff and be able to pick the pace up a little bit more on phase two. And they're progressing. They had trouble getting plans, existing plans to work on, but truth be told, I think they were a bit impacted by trying to do a dozen jobs before the code change. Some of them ours and some other people's jobs. So I didn't see this. I was kind of saying the same thing in the last couple of months, and I could see that they're progressing, but it's not going gangbusters. So hopefully now that they got plans in that they were trying to get under the wire for the new code, that we could pick up the pace here and get phase two going a little bit more.
Great.
So that's why I don't have much to say on phase two. But I had the conversation with them a couple of days ago. So I know where you are with things. We're all kind of spread thin right now. So there we are. That's expenditures. The phase three is basically what we spent on what was phase two before. And then you can see we've only expended $7,000 on phase two. And they've progressed further than that. I don't think their buildings are quite in line. In fact, I think there was a building that was after this report that brought it up a little bit. So that's kind of where we are. I'm wide open for questions. Yeah, that was the last one.
Are there any updates on the switchgear? Any
Any updates?
any
on what?
updates on the switchgear? Maybe coming quicker?
No, that it's funny. They don't even commit to give it. They used to say, we'll have it by X day, and then they don't meet it. Now they won't even give you X days. I need to pose a question to him. It's been probably a week since I've asked, or 2 weeks since I've asked him. I know for Mendocino have asked, and they haven't given us an answer. And that was ordered well before this one.
Oh, boy.
Actually, they're just as most of their switch gears here. What's not there for theirs is future EV charging, and PG&E is allowing them to heat it up without that component, and that was just revelation of 2 days ago. We're not quite in that position where we have one piece that's just for future. We need the whole piece.
Right.
So,
Well, I think that's just the new way people are dealing with it, so we're not disappointed if we don't have that date pass us. But gosh, if that's a company, someone wants to start up.
It's nuts. I mean,
Yeah,
I
just-
replaced HVAC for Anderson Valley last summer. And the project's still open because it's done, it's operational, but there's a component called an economizer, which makes it more energy efficient. They won't even give us a date when it was coming, you know? I think they finally gave us a date and we're gonna do it over winter break, but it was supposed to have been done last summer and you can't put in what you don't have.
Right. Yeah. So, any other questions? Okay. Thank you for the
All right,
update.
well, thank you very much.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Don.
Have a
We
great,
cleared the room here, huh?
I know. It was,
All right, I'll see you next time.
thank you. Have a great
Thank you.
holiday.
Have a good one.
Okay, so that moves us to approval of agenda consent items.
Are we going to do
It's,
number 5 or after?
it's right after.
Okay.
Yep. So these are non-controversial, so we will ask for a motion.
Are we gonna pull the disposal of obsolete materials?
I have a slide for the board to look at that is the obsolete items. There are no extravagant items here. There are some old Spanish language texts from the middle school. There are some out-of-date textbooks from the high school. And then some items from the nutrition services department. So it's the board's
Okay.
prerogative
Christmas
if you want to
shopping done yet?
continue or not with these on the obsolete.
So I guess I will have Vice President Makela read the consent items, and we'll ask for a motion and see if anyone wants something pulled.
Okay, item 10.1, warrants. Item 10.2, the minutes, November 17th, 2022 regular meeting. Item 10.3, personnel action report. Item 10.4, contracts. Item 10.5, disposal of obsolete materials. And item 10.6, AB 361 teleconference review.
Okay. Is there a motion?
I'll move to approve the agenda consent items.
In a second?
Second?
Okay. All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Aye.
Seeing no opposed, so moved. And now we move on to our number 5, which is going back to the organizational action. And we have 5.1 is oath of office. And we have 3 members, 3 trustees that need to take the oath.
Yes, and would we like to do this individually or as a group?
I've seen it many, many times this year together, so,
Okay.
but it's up to you.
We can do it together? or-
Fine by me.
So we'll, Diana, Scott, and Jerry, if you'll rise, please. And repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Diana Paoli,
Do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
and the Constitution of the State of California against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
Shorter pieces, Joe.
oh, sorry, that I will bear true faith and allegiance
and will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States
to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I take this obligation freely,
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well
and that I will well
and faithfully discharge
and faithfully discharge
the duties upon which I am about to enter.
the duties upon which I am about to enter.
You're all sworn in for another term. Thank you.
Okay, we are officially back on the board. So we are on all 4 years. And so next item on the organizational action is election of president. Do I have any motion? Do I have a motion?
I'll nominate Mary Macla for the position of president.
And a second?
I'll second.
Okay, and I believe we do roll call. Because this is a action.
Trustee Schneider?
Yes.
Trustee Babcock?
Yes.
Trustee Mattson?
Yes.
Trustee Makla?
Yes.
And Trustee Paley?
Yes.
And the motion carries.
Very good. So I believe, I guess, do we switch right now? But what's interesting, a detail, because I went back into archives. So probably my inexperience, because I was a president mostly virtually, but technically you're supposed to be here and I'm supposed to be there, because I don't know. So you're not moving, which is horrible, because it was stated that the vice president is to the left of the president. So I don't know if you want to continue that tradition or if you'd like to switch chairs. But it seems kind of exciting to move chairs, but I will be moving. So it's up to you.
I'm
Okay.
fine.
You're where you're supposed to be.
Yeah. Oh, good.
So I'll let you take over.
Well, so now we are to item 5.2.2, election of vice president. And do I have a motion, please?
I nominate Scott Snyder for vice president.
I'll second.
And roll call, please.
Trustee Mattson?
Yes.
Trustee Paley?
Yes.
Trustee Babcock?
Yes.
Trustee Makla?
Yes.
And Trustee Schneider?
Yes.
The motion carries.
Okay. Moving on to item 5.3, the
Are they
file.
supposed to move?
Yes. So I get to
Oh,
move. Now I
that's
get to
right.
move.
So I'm moving.
So you get to
Thank you, Kathy.
It's always awkward, I remember.
Yeah, it seems like it. This is not why I opted not to move, I promise.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
I just want to do things properly. Okay.
Yeah, I come back over.
Wow.
There we go, a new view.
I like to move. I've been there a long time.
Well, I'm glad we did that, because before we move forward, I wanted to thank you, Diana, and I know we all agree that you were a stellar president, and you're a hard act to follow, believe me. So, correct me if I make mistakes, I'm totally fine, no ego here, and just be kind.
Thank
So,
you.
Well, thank you. Moving forward. 5.3, filing a verified signature of board members and persons authorized to sign orders in the board's name. Say that's you, Joe.
Yes, so this item is really procedural, and we, with the approval of the names that are there, we will be able to move forward and we'll sign this. We'll have a lot to sign after the end of this meeting.
Okay. All right, thank you.
So if we can entertain a motion for that.
Oh, sorry, it is action. May I have a motion?
I move to approve the verified signature of board members and persons authorized to sign orders in the board's name.
And a second?
I'll second.
And roll call?
Trustee Mattson?
Yes.
Trustee Makla?
Yes.
Trustee Schneider?
Yes.
Trustee Babcock?
Yes.
Trustee Paley?
Yes.
And the motion carries.
Okay, now moving on to item 5.4, statement of facts.
All right, and the statement of facts, I actually had Renee pull the one that was there, actually was already filled in, just in case the events of this evening played out differently than prior discussions. And so we have a completed form that we will fill out, but with the approval, it will list Trustee Makla as our new president, and the other members of the governing board there flowing through the rest.
All right, thank you. And may I have a motion?
I'll move to approve 5.4 statement of facts.
Thank you. And a second?
Second.
Very good.
And roll call, please.
Trustee Schneider?
Yes.
Trustee Mattson?
Yes.
Trustee Babcock?
Yes.
Trustee Paley?
Yes.
And Trustee Makla?
Yes.
And the motion carries.
Thank you. All right, on to item 5. You need to add? Change? No? Okay, may I have a motion?
I move to approve the regular board meetings for January 2023 through December 2023.
And a second?
I'll second.
And roll call, please.
Trustee Schneider?
Yes.
Trustee Makala?
Yes.
Trustee Mattson?
Yes.
Trustee Babcock?
Yes.
Trustee Paoli?
Yes.
The motion carries.
Thank you. Item 5.6, assignment of ancillary duties and appointments of the board. And we also all have a list of those things. So we need a little discussion.
So I forgot what order this meeting was, so my only comment was I kind of figured out where everyone should be at the site, so I'm being a little bit
Well, you
forward with the
should share.
discussion. Because we've all been everywhere except Scott and Mary kind of requested a couple of sites, so I think it makes sense for Scott to be at middle school, Mary to be at high school, because I was just at high school. And then it leaves Kathy maybe at Redwood, 'cause it's been a while, because we've all been everywhere, everyone else. And Jerry was at Dana Gray in 2019, and I was at Alt Ed in 17, so I think it's kind of just, we land there.
I'm fine with whatever.
Okay, so
So-
that's what I figured out, where everyone's been, so it's not
So
back
which
to
one
back.
did you put Jerry at?
Dana Gray.
Dana Gray.
So
And
Redwood
you'll
would
be
be
at Alt Ed?
Kathy, Dana Gray would be Jerry, middle school would be Scott, Mary would be high school, and I would be at Alt Ed. Because I know Kathy was there before middle school. So anyway, that's how I calculated it out. So I don't know if anyone
You've been keeping great track of those things.
had to look it up.
Thank you
I
for
have the,
that.
yeah, the
Yes.
last two written down for me, but that's as far as I go. That's my book. This is 2 years.
Oh. Okay, so our other committees. Currently, well, first of all, I guess we should talk about if we want to make changes, but currently, who's the audit committee? Is that,
Diana and I.
Us, Yeah.
okay, so Scott and Diana, and are we going to keep that? Do we want to make changes?
I'm fine at the committees I'm at, but if someone wants to be part of the audit, which sometimes you get a virtual call, or in the old days, you actually were in a room with boxes with the young person. And it was a little intimidating, thinking, oh, gosh. Now it's just a kind of a phone call, so it's not labor intensive.
Well, sounds like we're going to leave that as is, so that'll be Scott and Diana. If you're good with that, Scott?
Mhm.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, the bond committee.
That's pretty hard.
Yeah,
Right.
that was Jerry and I.
Kathy and Jerry.
And you want to keep that
Sure.
status quo?
Sure.
Okay. Mecca, Kathy and I, so that's,
And I
Did you
never
hear
got a
anything?
response. And I should have followed up. I'm sorry. I emailed
That's
Veronica
okay.
and didn't get a response about what is the current status of Mecca.
so Mecca may have disbanded. If they didn't, do we want to continue as we were, or does anybody
We
else
could just
have-
do a rotation, too.
We can do a rotation?
Yeah,
Just
because
the
what
month.
we had originally, Mary and I split it. I was on the fifth grade Senate end of it,
In the
and she
fall.
was on the job fair.
Job fair, right?
And the fifth grade Senate has died, unfortunately, because the counselor that was doing it is now not here. So it never, I don't think it got resurrected. So with that being said, I'm not tied to it, or I can do it, whatever.
I'm totally fine with doing a rotation. Everybody then gets to see what goes on.
It
if
is,
Mecca
yeah,
exists.
I mean, I think the concern is that it wasn't focused,
Mhm.
but it was nice to kind of catch up with everybody on those various, or from those various.
Right. 'cause
But
all the
Joe, have you never
superintendents
heard
came
anything
on.
from them, have you? So
I have
it
not.
probably has been disbanded.
You know, I heard that something may come when I first came on board this summer, and I've not heard another word since
Right.
then.
Yeah.
They wanted to develop a mission and I guess couldn't find one. And everybody's so busy, it's hard to do one more meeting, so,
So
shall
maybe,
we?
maybe if you're the contact, then
I'll-
at agenda setting, that between the two of you,
Yeah.
you would be the first in line, and then
Okay.
reach out. So then, because that was the trouble too, is if you had reps and it changed, then if it's just going, the email's going to one person
Right.
each time, that
Yeah.
seems like, then we just know to go to you.
I'll give Veronica another call and see if we can find out for sure. So we'll move on to Friends of Mendocino College Coast Center. So it's FMCCC. I've been doing that. I would like to continue, but we can have two. I help them with the job fair actually through that, so I'm going to continue in that. I'd like to continue in that role. Does anybody else want to join?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd like to do that.
Okay. So I'll make sure that Amanda usually, she's the dean of co-centers,
Mhm.
or of all the centers, so she will send out I'll make sure she sends you the agenda,
I think, how often are the meetings?
like 4 times a year. Yeah.
Great.
Sure. Okay, let me write that down. Okay. Board chat is just whoever's
Rotation.
on,
Rotation.
rotation for agenda setting. And the Community Safety Committee. So Joe, you had talked about talking to the news police chief.
Yes, so we still haven't had a chance to sit down and catch up on anything at this point, because we've both been pretty busy with things. But yes, I think that we'll be forming a committee through the new year. And I would like to look at it from, and I think he would too, from a broader sense of not just, emergency response in the traditional sense of some of the horrible things that can happen, but also thinking about if there's a natural disaster or responses in those sort of ways and how we can work together. Obviously, the schools will be a center of that, so.
Right. So shall we put this on hold and wait and see how that develops, and then you can bring it back to us?
I
Okay.
believe that would be the best thing.
Perfect, thank you. And Three Rivers Charter School, we've all been doing that on rotation as well. If you're the, yes, patriotic
Rotation.
exercise. So, shall we continue that? Yep, okay. Great. Naming of the facility committee. So this is a new committee. And I think it's one we're gonna need. I don't know if we need it quite yet, but it would be good to have people in place, I think. Is anybody interested in joining that committee?
I'd be happy to be on it.
Okay. Do we have another person? Anyone? Honestly, I think it would be great to have one of the three of you who grew up here on that, so.
I'll do it.
Jerry? Great. Thank you.
And so, my only question, since this is a brand-new committee we've never had before, and it could potentially require, none of these committees require any money, but this one's unique. So well, obviously, we'd have,
It would be advisory only,
okay,
in
yeah,
nature.
because they don't have a budget to it,
Right.
because it could be.
It could have
It's
potential
just,
ramifications.
it's just, we've never had a committee where it may require input from the staff.
I think the committee would be tasked with coming up with suggestions and advice on how to proceed, and then the board as a whole would decide on any funding that came from that.
Okay, okay. Thank you for clarifying.
Thank you. So Diana and I have been doing community relations advocacy. We can put that up for discussion. I'm interested in continuing. I don't know if you
Yeah.
are, but I don't know if other people,
Yeah,
I don't want to have
good.
it.
It happens during a terrible time for me, so.
like the
I-
legislature.
Yeah.
Ledge
I mean, I
day.
would like to be more involved, but
It's the wrong time of
it's the
year.
wrong time of the year for me. So if you ladies would like to do it, that's great.
And there's another avenue of it as well, because we were trying to be responsive to anything going on, that we could write a letter,
Mhm.
for board support, and then, newspaper outreach with the superintendent. So those are other avenues that don't have to
Mhm.
be in the spring.
Right.
So we can always do that. And then there is a new, well, it's not really linked to it, but our PD, there's a new upcoming PD that you guys will probably talk about at agenda setting
Yes.
or something.
Yeah, the coast-to-coast advocacy trip, that's apart from CSBA, if we wish to participate in that or not. So-
Because that's a flight trip, and we've
Yeah.
historically never
flown anywhere.
They did it they did it
Jerry and I
San
went
We have to do it
Diego.
all the
first
time,
year,
yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
so anyway, so that's just a discussion to know,
Mhm.
because I think there was a priority of everyone going to the San Francisco. Anyway, I don't want to get off topic, but
So
advocacy.
we'll revisit that in January then. Okay, and the Wellness Committee, which is, not sure, did we have anyone on the Wellness Committee?
I attended, I don't know if we really
Oh,
were
yeah.
appointed, but that was the Pilar,
was-
where we did the
yeah.
third Tuesday, Tennis Shoe Tuesday, or Thankful Thursday, that whole,
Yeah,
Remember?
I think that kind of fell apart with COVID.
COVID. Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
I don't know
But
if
it might
it's-
come back with Blue Zone.
Right.
I mean,
I
yeah.
almost said Blue Door,
True.
but anyway, help Blue Door too.
Great.
But Blue Zone.
Yeah.
And if we have any upcoming audits, that's certainly something for the school nutrition program, they need to see the wellness committee meeting.
Mm-hmm.
So,
So it's kind of a requirement.
So shall we go ahead and set 2 people, so then when it comes up, we can,
I think that would be a good idea.
Yeah, I'm happy to stay on.
okay.
Anyone else?
Unless somebody else wanted it, I'm happy to do that.
Or Kathy? Yeah, I don't
Oh,
know.
Kathy, did you want to stay on?
Well, no,
Try.
I feel like I'm not on here very much, but
Oh,
if
you
you
wanna-
have a passion, Mary, I
No,
know
no.
you have a passion for it, so I am perfectly
No,
fine.
no, no, you do it.
Well,
They don't need to hear from me.
Okay.
Okay. And you're right, I don't do that. Too many, okay. Thank you, let me move on here. Let's see, sorry. Okay, so we're moving on, we did that.
Do we need to vote?
Oh, gosh, yes, sorry, moving on. So we need a vote on that, thank you. Can I have a motion on item 5.6?
Sure, I'll make a motion to approve item number 5.6, ancillary duties and appointments of board members in 2023 as discussed.
Okay, and a second?
I will second.
And roll call, please.
Trustee Paoli?
Yes.
Trustee Mattson?
Yes.
Trustee Babcock?
yes.
Trustee Makla?
Yes.
Trustee Schneider?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Now, moving on. So, moving on to 11, and that is our, sorry, it's in front of me, board action items. So 11.1, Resolution 2217, Annual Report and Accounting of Developer Fees 2122.
So this is an annual requirement. The resolution indicates how the fees were collected and what they were slated to be used for. The second part of it goes through what the plans are for the remaining funds that are on hand from the collections. And then the attachments go through how much was collected in the previous year and what was spent on and what's left. We have suspended collecting these funds now, so I have to find out how much of these reports have to be done every year. I know the one talking about how much is left on hand will have to continue. But so there may be a slight change to these reports in coming years, but for now, we still did collect in 21, 22, so that's what this is looking at.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone have any questions?
So are we going to suspend these indefinitely? I forget what we did with that.
Well, we suspended them for now. I mean, we'll have to revisit it in the future if we start to see a big influx of students and need more space and can justify impacts of influx of people on the school district. So it would be a lovely issue to have. And then we would have to do another developer fee study because we haven't done one since 2004, I want to say, or something. It's been a very long time, and we hadn't raised them for a long time because of the bonds, in appreciation to the community for having supported us in those. And with our declining enrollment, it just became apparent that we really could not justify collecting them anymore
And many
for
times
now.
you get older people building a project that have virtually no impact on the school system, so it seemed like it was not an equitable.
Now, if we have
Kinda
another
gouging.
housing development or something, or if some big company moves in here and brings a bunch of families with it, then we would have to look at it again and say, okay, there is going to be an impact to the schools. But
So the development that's being built now is not really
what
relevant.
development?
On
Yeah.
South Street.
Yeah.
By the
On where?
hospital.
By the
South Street,
hospital.
The low
by the hos-
income.
Behind the hospital, South Street.
Oh, how many units are we talking about there?
Quite a bit.
Well,
Nice.
quite a few.
60?
Yeah,
There's
they've got them
apartments
packed in there.
and little-
Oh, I don't know.
Well, it's too
Okay.
late now. I mean, they're
Yeah.
done.
Right.
They're moved in.
Oh, they
Oh.
are? They're moved in?
People are
Wow.
moving
Oh, yeah.
now. There's-
Yeah.
They
I
have
noticed they
a
look done.
pickleball
Then
court.
they clearly paid developer fees because it happened
Yes.
before 21-22. So
Right.
Good point.
any
Okay.
new developments that
Thank
come
you.
up.
Yeah.
So I didn't realize that that's the correlation. If someone, the point of it is to, anyone that's new build, and part of that,
The anticipated impact on the school district.
okay,
It's not just a new build if you're adding square footage as well.
right, but the criteria, you really want to only be gouging people that have kids? That's what I'm hearing?
No. It was anybody who built anything
Right.
because it supported the need for expansion.
Right.
You know, presumably, construction means expansion. And we just aren't seeing the kind of expansion, and our enrollment has dropped quite a bit since we instituted these fees. So
So you don't want to
there's
stockpile.
not a need
Yeah,
for it
Right.
at this
Yeah.
point.
Okay.
We can't justify it.
right,
That's
yeah,
basically the point.
I think you're right with the bonds.
right,
It's
is
nice
enough,
to
yeah,
just let those go for now.
right.
Any
Okay.
other discussion, questions? Okay, may I have a motion?
I move to approve Resolution 22-17 of the Governing Board of the Fort Bragg Unified School District regarding accounting of development fees for 2021-22 fiscal year in the following fund or account.
Second?
Okay, thank you. Renee, roll call?
Trustee Makla,
Yes.
Trustee Mattson,
Yes.
Trustee Babcock,
Yes.
Trustee Paoli,
Yes.
and Trustee Schneider.
Yes.
And the motion carries.
Thank you. Moving on, 11.2, the 2022-23 first interim report.
Okay, the first interim report is really our first check-in and more accurate look at what the current year budget is going to look like, because when we do the budget at the end of the year, you're still looking at what your estimated ending balances are. And so that's not, those aren't actual numbers, they're budget numbers still. We move them around to try to get as close as we can, but it never quite ends up in where it belongs. The biggest difference is that a lot of the resources we have that are restricted show what they call ending fund balance carryover. You don't, once you close the books, you turn that into deferred revenue, so it goes away, it comes out of revenue, and then it comes back into revenue the subsequent year. So all of that moving around of things impacts first interim very heavily, and that's where the largest changes are to this. And if you look at the page just behind the cover, this is sort of a new little presentation that kind of lays it out in a summary form so you can kind of see where the changes are. So the impact of the additional amount applied to the base and the LCFF funding is the biggest increase to the LCFF sources. We had a few more kids than we originally anticipated when we did the budget, so that was a nice little bump there also, and that'll help. So the increase in the revenues, again, is largely because of monies that were originally showing as ending fund balance that had to get moved out of there and into the new year revenue instead of prior year revenue. So that's the biggest changes in the revenues. Then in the expenses, the largest changes were the retro increase to all of the salaries. Obviously, that hit salaries and benefits. And then there are some new resources that we have started to collect, and we have started working on plans for some of the other ones. So some of the expenditure groups have also gone up because of those things. So this is sort of a like I said, a first stop to kind of look at, okay, where really is the budget for this year? And we have a lot of carryover, a lot of ending fund balance here. And a lot of that, most of it, is obviously going to be on the restricted side because anything that isn't budgeted out shows up there. And then on the unrestricted side, there are some resources that we either haven't budgeted out or are sort of squirreling away so that when some of these other one-time funds go away, we will have those to use. So mostly the supplemental concentration balance, because there have been so many other one-time amounts that have come in that should be used first because they have dates by which they have to be spent. So, so then the next, towards the end there's the multi-year with the assumptions that I always put together for you so you can see a little more detail on where the changes are from one year to the next. Clearly, we're looking fine for this year and the 2 subsequent years. We'll know a little more in January with the governor's first proposal for the budget for next year. And as we know, that can change drastically between January and May, and then it can change drastically again between May and July. But we do the best we can with the information we get. So that's where we are with that. So these numbers reflect more accurately what our available revenues are and our anticipated expenses. Because the other thing that happens is positions, assignments get leveled out too. We really know exactly who we have, where they are, and where they're being funded from.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone have any questions? Okay, may I have a motion?
I'll move to approve the 22-23 first interim report.
And a second?
I'll second.
And roll call, please.
Trustee Paoli?
Yes.
Trustee Makla?
Yes.
Trustee Babcock?
Yes.
Trustee Schneider?
Yes.
And Trustee Mattson?
Yes.
And the motion carries.
Thank you. And thank you, Wendy. I should have said that before I moved on. I apologize. And I do want to repeat what Diana said. There is that budget meeting coming up. You can sign up for, there's a Humboldt one that's virtual, and then there's one at Lake County that's in person. That would be the closest to us.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, moving on to 11.3, the flooring purchase for FBMS.
So we're looking to replace the flooring in the halls and a few classrooms, as well as the administrative offices at FBMS. If you've looked down that hall, you can see some of the tile is not doing great. And while this isn't in a emergency state, we don't want it to get there. It's getting close to that. And so the information provided, we do not have to go out to bid, as this is already on the appropriate list that don't require the bids. What we're looking at putting down is a rubber tile that will have a really long lifespan. It will probably outlive certainly my tenure in the district, I would think, by some time. And Barry and I were discussing that and think it will get at least a 20-year life, if not longer than that. So we're really encouraged by spending a little bit more money now that we get a product that will last and live up to the day-to-day issues that we see.
And speaking of spending, I should have gone through the packet more carefully. The cover sheet shows that it's general funds that are going to be paying for this. That's not correct. We'll correct that in the final paperwork. It's actually going to be Fund 26, which used to be redevelopment funds. We still, because some of the redevelopment agency projects are still all going on in Fort Bragg, we still receive a little bit of a throw-off from that. When those agencies were disbanded, they formed these successor agencies to continue finishing up their projects, and so we are still benefiting from that. So we'll be using those funds for this.
Great, thank you. And
So what is the process? Do we just go out and get one bid from one outfit?
Because they're on the approved list, we could look with other outfits. However, it should be in the same price range because of the bid process. It's the piggyback bidding. I wish I had Barry here. He could do a better job of explaining the ins and outs of that. If you're not comfortable with that, I can obviously have him come back and provide us with more information.
My experience in 50 years of doing this is when somebody knows somebody else is bidding on it, they're going to sharpen their pencil every single time. So I'm not saying we don't approve this tonight, but we get into $225,000 contracts, it seems like it might be worthy of at least informally getting a couple other quotes.
Right.
And we did quote out some other products with the same company, but I can understand the wisdom in that as well.
Human nature, just the way it is.
Yeah.
What's your timeframe?
So I think if we approve in January, if I can bring back some information for you there, that we should be okay. We're trying to get this done for the,
Spring break?
No. Summer break.
Mm.
So,
To
because
be a
it's going to
big,
be very disruptive to the administrative
Yeah.
offices in particular. So,
well, it's a big job.
it's a really big job. And it looks like you've got 30 days for this price. That was my two questions were, I didn't think it was general funds. And then I was hoping that there were other companies, but have you used these folks before?
Yes.
Yes, we
So
have.
that's valuable if you've used them before. And then the sales tax rate, I thought it was supposed to be for Fort Bragg, but that's not Fort Bragg rate. That'll save us a little money,
It will. Yeah, it's a little high.
8.875, but I guess it's not really much,
Just a
but
little
it's not
bit.
right.
And Jerry, do you want to pull this?
No.
Till next, you're good?
No, I trust Barry and Joe. It's getting a little bit out of my comfort zone to have a bid that high that we don't have a comparative price to, so.
Certainly.
And if you've used them before, then you're probably fine.
In the future, we will bring that forward as well.
And we want to approve it before December 18th, otherwise it
We
could
can
go
say
up.
Good, yeah.
So,
Or down, no.
yeah.
Anyway, well, and rubber tiles sound like a great choice for
what
any
we
school,
thought it
but
would.
the middle school too.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Can I have a motion?
I move to approve the flooring purchase and installation at Fort Bragg Middle School.